Today, we're diving into the story of a creature so massive it feels like it crawled straight out of a myth. We're talking about the true king of the ancient jungle, Titanoboa.
Our story kicks off deep inside the Cerrejón coal mine in Colombia. Now, this place is basically a geological treasure chest. It's the fossilized remains of a rainforest from 60 million years ago. And right there, during an excavation, someone pulled something very, very strange out of the earth.
At first, nobody had a clue what they were looking at. I mean, the bone was huge, unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Guesses were flying all over the place. Maybe a crocodile, a giant turtle. One person even thought it was just a fossilized tree branch. But what they were holding was the very first clue to a creature that was about to completely rewrite the history of life on this planet.
So how in the world did this one mysterious bone lead to the discovery of the largest snake that ever lived? Well, the journey was a lot longer and more winding than you might think.
Get this, the first bone was actually found way back in 1994, but it was basically dismissed and tossed in a box. It took another 8 years for a similar fossil to even show up. But it wasn't until 2007, when these bones finally landed at the Florida Museum of Natural History, that the puzzle pieces really started to click into place.
And this was the moment of truth. Scientists in Florida put the mystery fossil right next to the vertebra of a modern green anaconda, the biggest snake alive today, and they were just stunned. The fossil was 3 times larger and way thicker. There was no doubt anymore. They were looking at a snake.
This discovery sent absolute shockwaves through the scientific community. This wasn't just some big snake, it was the undisputed king, a beast so enormous it was given a name to match, Titanoboa. And its scale? Well, it was truly titanic.
So, using some clever math, scientists figured out its length just from the size of that one vertebra. The result was absolutely mind-boggling, somewhere between 42 and 50 feet long. To put that in perspective for you, that is longer than a city bus. It's almost twice the size of the biggest anacondas you'd find in the Amazon today.
And if you think the lake this crazy, what about its weight? An incredible 1.2 tons. That's about 1,200 kilograms. We're talking as heavy as a sedan car and 10 times heavier than a green anaconda. This discovery didn't just break old records, it completely shattered them.
So, of course, this begs a huge question. How on earth did a snake get that big?
The answer, it turns out, wasn't just in its genes, but in the world it lived in.
You see, the key to understanding Titanoboa's massive size comes down to a really simple biological idea. Snakes are ectothermic, or what we usually call cold-blooded. Unlike you and me, they can't make their own body heat. Their entire system, their energy, how they digest food, how fast they grow, is all controlled by the temperature around them. And 60 million years ago, the Earth was a much, much hotter place. The average temperature in Titanoboa's rainforest home was a sweltering 32 degrees Celsius, day and night. This constant, intense heat basically acted like a supercharger for its metabolism, letting it grow to a size that would be completely impossible in our cooler world today.
Okay, so we've got this gigantic creature, right? But you need to forget that Hollywood image of a giant snake slithering super fast across the land. The reality of how this thing hunted is way more interesting. At 1.2 tons, just moving on land would have been incredibly hard. Gravity and friction were its worst enemies. Its own immense weight would have literally crushed its internal organs. But in the water, that was a whole different story. The buoyancy supported its colossal body, making it surprisingly agile and absolutely deadly. Titanoboa wasn't a land monster, it was an aquatic assassin.
It hunted almost exactly like a modern crocodile. It would just sink down into those murky swamp waters with maybe only its eyes and nostrils poking out. It was a classic ambush predator, just waiting patiently for hours, maybe even for days, for some unsuspecting animal to come down for a drink. And when it did, the attack was explosive and over in an instant.
Now, when Titanoboa wrapped around its prey, scientists estimate it squeezed with a force of over 400 pounds per square inch. To give you an idea of what that feels like, it's like having 2 full-grown African elephants standing on your chest. It didn't suffocate its victims, it crushed them instantly, shattering bones and stopping blood flow in a split second.
So, what's on the menu for a predator this powerful? Well, the ancient Amazon was filled with other giants. Titanoboa was feasting on massive turtles, some as wide as a snooker table, and huge prehistoric crocodiles that would make today's predators look tiny. And thanks to a skull they found in 2011,
We know for a fact it had a jaw that could dislocate, which let it swallow prey 3 times the size of its own head.
So Titanoboa was the perfect predator, living in the perfect environment. It had no enemies. It was the undisputed king. So what happened? Why did this titan just disappear from the face of the earth?
The answer is actually pretty simple, but also devastating. Its greatest strength, being perfectly adapted to a super hot world, became its ultimate weakness. The world cooled down, and Titanoboa just couldn't keep up.
A drop of just a few degrees in the average global temperature was a death sentence. Its metabolism slowed to a crawl. It couldn't digest food properly or move with the same lethal speed. At the same time, the swampy habitats it needed started to dry up, and the rise of mammals created all new competition for whatever food was left. Everything that had made Titanoboa a king was slowly taken away.
And that leaves us with a fascinating and kind of scary final thought. Titanoboa's very existence was tied directly to a hotter planet. As our own world continues to warm up, it really makes you wonder, are we accidentally creating the perfect conditions for nature to cook up another monster on this scale? Could a new king of the snakes one day rule again?